Hey, Mama Selena for African Daisy. And it's another another Money Monday. Yes, money does too. But Mondays tend to come quite quickly, I think. I feel like they do. The days have been going very quickly for me here, which is not always a bad thing. But anyway, so obviously, what I wanted to talk about, I want to read in Proverbs here. But one thing that, just like money, that we need to budget, we have to budget our time, right? We have to budget what we do with our time, how we are handling our time, so that also we can be productive, so that we can be profitable, so that we can, not just be consumers, right? So I'm sure you've heard this, to be a producer, be more of a producer than you are a consumer. And so that's our goal, right? So that we are doing that. And so anyway, but also that means that we have to manage our time well. We have to do all that. So today was kind of one of those days where I had to manage my time well. I was really tired this morning. So I dropped Selena at school. I came home and I was like, I'm going to sleep a little bit. Then I got up and I did what I had to do. And so now I'm sitting down with you, and I just want to read here in Proverbs 22 and 23 and just talk about money and what God says. Let's see what God says about money. It's amazing. It says, a good name learned by honorable behavior, godly wisdom, moral courage, and personal integrity is more desirable than great riches. And favor is better than silver and gold. The rich and poor have a common bond. The Lord is the maker of them all. A prudent and farsighted person sees evil of sin and hides himself from it. But the naive continue on and are punished by suffering and consequences of sin. The reward of humility, that is having a realistic view of one's importance, the reverent, worshipful fear of the Lord, is riches, honor, and life. Thorns and snares are the way of the obstinate, for their lack of honor and their wrongdoing traps them. He who guards himself with godly wisdom will be far from them and avoid the consequences they suffer. Train up a child by the way he should go, teaching him to seek God's wisdom and will for his abilities and talents. Even when he's old, he will not depart from it. The rich rules over the poor, and the borrower is servant to the lender. He who sows injustice will reap a harvest of trouble, and the rod of his wrath, that which oppresses others, will fail. He who is generous will be blessed, for he gives some of his food to the poor. Drive away the scoffer, and contention will go away. Even strife and dishonor will cease. He who loves purity of heart and whose speech is gracious will have the king as his friend. The eyes of the Lord keep guard over knowledge and the one who has it, but he overthrows the words of the treacherous. The lazy one manufactures excuses and says, there is a lion outside. I will be killed in the streets if I go to work. The mouth of an immoral woman is a deep pit, deep and inescapable. He who is cursed by the Lord because of his adulterous sin will fall into it. Foolishness is bound up in the heart of a child. The rod of discipline, correction, administered with godly wisdom and loving kindness, will remove it far from him. He who oppresses or exploits the poor to get more for himself, or who gives to the rich to gain influence and favor, will only come to poverty. I just want to read that again. He who oppresses or exploits the poor to get more for himself. For example, what's going on in Kenya right now, where they're in the black market, where they are selling babies. They're having surrogate mothers, and then they are not giving that money to the mothers, and they're selling those babies. That, it says here, he who oppresses or exploits the poor to get more for himself. Those who are selling children for sex slaves. Those that are who are taking people here to be slaves in other countries. I'm telling you something. That's what it says here. He who oppresses or exploits the poor to get more for himself. Or, this is the other thing, okay? So we know those other things, right? We know that those things are very wrong. But this is something, or who gives to the rich to gain influence and favor will only come to poverty. The motive, if you give to gain influence and favor, isn't that interesting? Just thought that was fascinating. Listen carefully and hear the words of the wise, and apply your mind to my knowledge, for it will be pleasant if you keep them in mind, incorporating them, its guiding principles. Let them be ready on your lips to guide and strengthen yourself and others, so that your trust and reliance and confidence may be in the Lord. I have taught these things to you today, even to you. Have I not written to you excellent things in counsel and knowledge, to let you know the certainty of the words of the truth, that you may give a correct answer to those who sent you? Do not rob the poor because he is poor or defenseless, nor crush the afflicted by legal proceedings at the gate where the city court is held. For the Lord will plead their case and take the life of those who rob them. Do not even associate with a man given to angry outbursts, or go along with a hot-tempered man, or you will learn his undisciplined ways and get yourself trapped in a situation which is hard to escape. Do not be among those who give pledges, involving themselves in others' finances, or among those who become guarantors for others' debts. If you have nothing with which to pay another debt when he defaults, why should his creditor take your bed from under you? Do not move the ancient landmark at the boundary of the property which your fathers have set. We had an example of this on our property years ago when my grandfather, before I was born, the neighbor had really complained to my grandfather that, oh, we need to get this checked because I think you're on my land. So my grandfather had said, where do you need me to, he had been willing. So he said, okay, that's fine. He'd been willing to move it or to change it. He was not, he was willing to work with him. So this man's like, no, I'm going to get him out there. Do you know my grandfather ended up with more land? Because in fact, that guy was encroaching on my grandfather's land. Isn't that interesting? So sometimes don't move ancient boundaries. It's not good. Not good. Do you see a man skillful and experienced in his work? He will stand in honor before kings. He will not stand before obscure men. Something else that I've realized too, when you do a good job in what your work, in what you do, when you actually put forth energy and effort and you do a good job in it, it pays off. It shows, right? Anyway, I just think a lot of times, especially as believers, when we are doing our job, we need to do our job as unto the Lord. We do our job as unto the Lord. Yes. When you sit down to dine with a ruler, consider carefully what is set before you. For you will put a knife to your throat if you are a man of great appetite. Do not desire his delicacies, for it is deceptive food offered to you with questionable motives. Do not weary yourself with overwhelming desire to gain wealth. Cease from your own understanding of it. This is interesting. Do not weary yourself with the overwhelming desire to gain wealth. Do not weary yourself. Isn't that interesting? Cease from your own understanding of it. And this is why I read the scriptures. We need to read the scriptures to get it. We need to understand it. We need to not have our own understanding of it. We need to know what God is saying about it. When you set your eyes on wealth, it is suddenly gone. For wealth certainly makes itself wings like an eagle that flies to the heavens. Do not eat the bread of a selfish man or desire his delicacies. For as he thinks in his heart, so he is in behavior. One who manipulates, he says to eat and drink, yet his heart is not with you, but it is begrudging the cost. The morsel which you have eaten, you will vomit up, and you will waste your compliments. Do not speak in the ears of a fool, for he will despise the godly wisdom of your words. Do not move the the ancient landmark at the boundary of the property, and do not go into the fields of the fatherless to take what is theirs. Again, he's mentioned it twice now. Do not move the ancient landmark at the boundary of the property. Do not move it. And do not go into the fields of the fatherless to take what is theirs, of the fatherless. For their Redeemer is strong and mighty. He will plead their case against you. Apply your heart to discipline and your ears to words of knowledge. Do not withhold discipline from the child. If you swat him with a reed-like rod applied with godly wisdom, he will not die. You shall swat him with the reed-like rod and rescue his life from Sheol, the netherworld, the place of the dead. My son, this is another thing. Discipline your children. Disciplining your children. Teach them in the way they should go. I like that. My son, if your heart is wise, my heart will also be glad. Yes, my heart will rejoice when your lips speak right things. Do not let your heart envy sinners who live godless lives and have no hope of salvation. But continue to live in the reverent, worshipful fear of the Lord day by day. Surely there is future and a reward, and your hope and expectation will not be cut off. Listen, my son, and be wise, and direct your heart in the way of the Lord. Do not associate with heavy drinkers of wine or with gluttonous eaters of meat. For the heavy drinker and the glutton will come to poverty, and the drowsiness of the overindulgent will clothe one with rags. We're going to stop there. Drinking. Come on, guys, girls, men and women, come on now. Do not associate with heavy drinkers of wine or with gluttonous eaters of meat, for the heavy drinker and the glutton will come to poverty. When we look at these things, we can see it practically. If the bar, if the club if that's your thing in life, that's where your money will go, right? It says where your treasure is, there your heart is. Anyway, let's be wise. Let's budget well. Let's budget our finances. Let's budget our time. Let's make some money. And let's get into God's word, because it tells us, Proverbs has a lot to say about money. So I love you all. I hope you have a great day. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.